This is Columbus Concerns, a public affairs presentation of North American Broadcasting. Here's your host, Mark News.
And good morning, and thanks so much for joining us today on Columbus Concerns. Just a few days ago, Columbus Mayor Andrew Ginther gave his annual State of the City address. And during that address, he talked about several issues. This morning, we're going to focus on that portion of the speech that talked about housing and safety issues and reliable transit here in the city of Columbus. The mayor talked about the need for more affordable housing and the need for housing in general as the population continues to grow. He said he'd like to see City Council put a new housing bond issue on the November ballot totaling $500 million. It would be the third such housing issue before the voters in the last few years. However, it is by far the largest of those housing issues. He also talked about the safety and security of the city and how violent crime is down in Columbus, with the exception of domestic violence incidents, which are up in the city, and what he and the city has been trying to do about it. He also talked about some of the improvements to technology and other issues here in Columbus and how some neighborhoods are getting a spruce up. All of those issues coming up this morning in the State of the City address from Columbus Mayor Andrew Ginther on Columbus Concerns.
Neighbors, the state of our city is strong. Thanks to community collaboration, it is more vigorous than ever. An intentional use of our resources and a commitment to harnessing our region's success to benefit everyone. We're driving change across our community's top priorities: housing, safety, mobility, and prosperity for our residents. But our momentum can only be sustained and accelerated if we continue to work together to make our city even better. I'm so excited tonight because I know we share a vision for the future that is both impactful and inclusive, one that supports each of our neighbors and lifts up every corner of Columbus. For progress to be transformative, it cannot be achieved alone or on behalf of a select few. It is only through broad and sweeping collaboration across neighborhoods, across generations, and across a diverse range of backgrounds and experiences that we will carry forward the hopes, dreams, and aspirations of every Columbus resident. This is what it means to engage through an equity lens. And that is why this work must and will continue. So much is on the line, but there's still more to do. But know this: we will not simply accept outcomes and events as they unfold around us, deferring to chance, trends, and the actions or inaction of others. In the city of Columbus, we know who we are, what we believe in, what our values are, what we aspire to be, and what we are striving to become. Our fate is our own, and this will never change, despite the discord and dissonance coming from our nation's capital. The next chapter of our city's story will be written by us to ensure that every resident has access to housing they can afford, jobs that promote upward mobility, safe and vibrant neighborhoods, and sustainable, reliable transit that gets them to the people and places they need to lead happy, healthy, and fulfilling lives. We have the power to elevate the quality of life for everyone in this community, especially those who have historically been left out and left behind. We are charting our collective course right here and right now. And as we do, we will see to it that Columbus is a city that embraces its diversity and its differences. After all, true prosperity is rooted in including and empowering others, growing the winner's circle, shared prosperity. This is all about making the necessities of life available to all. Together, we will seize the present to secure our future. Neighbors, it's no secret that housing is one of the greatest challenges of the present moment. It's because Columbus is growing at an extraordinary rate. And with that growth comes extraordinary responsibility. Over the next decade, we need to build 200,000 housing units across our region just to meet demand. And we need more housing of every type. However, this is not simply about the numbers. It's about creating opportunities for families, fostering equity, and building a city where everyone is able to thrive. That is why this work is so important. And that is why we are so encouraged by some of our recent progress. Last year, our city saw a remarkable increase in residential construction permits, up 14% compared to 2023. This expansion is expected to create more than 6,000 new housing units in our city, a welcoming indicator that we're headed in the right direction. But we need to move faster, bigger, and with a sense of urgency. Thanks to the city's Zone In initiative, the hard work of our staff at Building and Zoning Services Department, we've cut timelines in half for rezonings and building variances, getting new housing projects off the ground faster in an industry where time is money. This is a huge win for our city, but especially for families who need a home right now, but are being priced or pushed out by a competitive housing market. That is why affordable housing is a central pillar of the Columbus housing strategy. And the voter-approved housing bonds that we passed in 2019 and 2022 have been particularly impactful. So far, our dollars have supported the construction of more than 4,000 new income-qualified affordable rental units, including 633 permanent supportive housing units, which are vital for individuals who have experienced homelessness and need extra support to stay housed. And while it's clear that this dedicated funding stream has kicked our work into high gear, the need in our community is still great. Tonight, I'm announcing that I will be asking Council to place a third Columbus affordable housing bond on the November ballot. I'm asking the residents of Columbus to stand up and support our efforts and support a bond issue of the largest investment towards housing in the city's history, $500 million. And we can keep this important progress going and build thousands of additional homes, all without raising your taxes. My bond package proposal will also include investments in fire stations and police substations, vehicles and equipment that keep our city running, parks and trails, roadway resurfacing, water and power infrastructure, and so much more. I'll be announcing with Council the full details of this bond package next month. But affordable housing bonds aren't the only tool in our toolbox that we're using to create the housing we need. We'll also expanded the city's housing tax incentive program to include all Columbus neighborhoods. Since 2019, this program has enabled the construction of nearly 14,500 new housing units, including 2,500 affordable housing units. Incredibly important gains for this community. But with our housing shortage now at a crisis level, we're redoubling our efforts to protect our residents who are being squeezed the most by this competitive housing market. That is why the Building and Zoning Services Department will soon introduce a registry of vacant and foreclosed properties. Thanks to the advocacy of neighborhood and community leaders, some I'm sure are here tonight, and the support and leadership of Columbus City Council, we'll know exactly who is responsible for maintaining uninhabited properties in your neighborhood, and who we can hold accountable if a property falls into disrepair in order to protect the safety and quality of life. This registry will go online by June 1st of this year. BZS is also managing a new registry of property wholesalers, who are often referred to as flippers, to ensure ethical, transparent, and responsible transactions when it comes to residential property wholesaling, an increasingly common practice we're seeing throughout Columbus and across the nation. But this work also requires that the city step in and take decisive action where others so often fail or refuse to do so. To that end, we created the city's new Relocation Assistance Code, which is there to help renters who are forced to move out of their homes, often at a moment's notice and due to no fault of their own, like when a boiler blows, knocks out heat to the building. Now, Columbus landlords are required to cover relocation costs for tenants displaced by emergency vacate orders. Placing responsibility where it belongs and easing the financial burden of our neighbors who might otherwise struggle to secure housing on such short notice. Our goal is to keep our neighbors in their homes, to help them navigate crises in their lives and prevent them from falling deeper into housing instability. This summer, the City of Columbus will launch the Division of Housing Stability, a dedicated team focused on expanding our efforts to keep residents stably housed and ensure the long-term prosperity and well-being of this community. This expansion of the Department of Development will serve to prevent evictions, improve housing quality, and ensure fair treatment for renters. We'll employ a fair housing coordinator to protect renters from exploitation, advance our homelessness prevention programs, streamline our efforts to bolster tenants' rights, and guarantee access to legal counsel at eviction court for low-income households with minors. Bringing this work to Columbus is a giant leap forward for this community, but we cannot ignore the bigger picture if we're truly going to address the rising cost of housing and create a region where everyone who wants to work in Central Ohio can afford to live here too. Creating new jobs and bringing workers to our region is a wonderful thing. But if we're growing our workforce without also building the housing, we need to accommodate these folks. We risk worsening our regional housing crisis and driving housing costs even higher. Consider the numbers. From 2010 to 2020, our region built one new home for every 2.5 jobs that we created. In order to accommodate the growth we're experiencing and expect to continue, we need to be building at least one house for every new job our region creates, a 1-to-1 ratio. In Columbus, we're certainly doing our fair share, and then some. Remember those 200,000 housing units that need to be built within the next 10 years? I'm committing Columbus to bringing 100,000 of them to the market, half of the region's housing demand. As you saw a few moments ago, last year's zoning code reforms unlocked the potential for the market to create an additional 88,000 housing units along key Columbus corridors and transit corridors over the next decade. It's a good start, but let me be clear. As much as we've accomplished, we cannot solve this regional problem alone. Columbus is just one part of a growing and dynamic region, and we need regional action to overcome this challenge. I'm pleased to share that right now, as we speak, the Central Ohio Regional Housing Coalition is convening hundreds of local government, business, academic, and nonprofit leaders who will see to it that Central Ohio is an affordable place to live in the future. The coalition will be incubated at the Columbus Partnership, and I want to thank their new CEO, Jason Hall, for spearheading this effort. It's going to be funded by both public and private dollars, leveraging our regionalism to our mutual advantage. It's just like when Columbus 2020 was founded to create 150,000 new jobs in 10 years. But this time, we're forming a new organization that will focus on building 200,000 homes in the next decade. By enlisting the business community, nonprofits, and neighboring municipalities and jurisdictions to this very important cause, we'll build the housing we need and improve housing stability for everyone in Central Ohio. Investing in stable housing is critical to making Columbus residents safer and more secure. And safety, as we all know, is the cornerstone of thriving, prosperous neighborhoods. Very proud to report that in 2024, we continued to make significant strides in reducing violent crime and strengthening community safety across our city. Homicides dropped by 17%. Felonious assaults were down 25%. The amazing women and men of the Columbus Division of Police achieved a homicide solve rate of 76%. And we continued to recover dangerous guns from the streets of our city because of reckless and hapless gun policy at the state and federal level. Just over 3,200 guns just last year taken off the streets of Columbus. I'm going to ask Chief Elaine Bryant to stand up so we can recognize her and the Division of Police for their amazing work in keeping us all safe. And she just hasn't stopped. This year's off to a remarkable start. In the first quarter of 2025, homicides were down 37% over the progress we saw in 2024. And felonious assaults were down another 15%. As of this morning, there have been 14 homicides in the city of Columbus in 2025. Let me be clear, one homicide is too many. But this is the lowest number of homicides we've seen in our city in 2 decades. Like so many of our pressing endeavors, this success is rooted in trust and collaboration. Historic levels of public engagement have empowered our law enforcement officers to act swiftly and effectively. These stronger connections between our officers and the neighbors they serve have fostered a shared sense of responsibility for our community's safety. Great partners like the Mothers of Murdered Children Columbus that are here tonight that have been incredible partners for us. So tonight I'm asking all of you, let's keep this positive progress going. Let's collaborate with the women and men of the Division of Police and with our neighbors. Let's engage and empower our youth as we head into these summer months. Let's stay vigilant in our efforts to protect one another. We'll continue to do our part by implementing our comprehensive neighborhood safety strategy. Each neighborhood faces unique challenges, and this safety strategy addresses these complexities with considerable forethought, precision, and care. By embracing a holistic approach that blends prevention, intervention, and enforcement, we are better positioned to disrupt the cycle of violence from multiple angles and keep Columbus families safe. There's one example. One example I'd like to share with you tonight, we launched just a few weeks ago. We introduced the Clean and Safe Corridor Initiative, a strategic effort to improve safety, fuel economic prosperity, and promote quality of life along key business corridors where there's a clear and quantifiable need for focused, proactive intervention. We launched the program on Parsons Avenue, partnering with businesses like Bake Me Happy and the Southside Thrive Collaborative to identify the most impactful city services and investments we could bring to the corridor. Over a span of 2 weeks, Columbus crews filled potholes, picked up trash, addressed specific safety issues, inspected local businesses, identified and monitored code violations, and a range of services from multiple city departments, valued at more than $164,000 in labor and infrastructure. We also awarded a $165,000 grant from the city's budget to the Southside Thrive Collaborative to sustain safety and cleanliness efforts throughout the neighborhood. And we'll devote dollars from our capital budget next month to help with infrastructure, cameras, lighting, and other improvements the community needs and is asking for. But we're just getting started. I'm pleased to share that the next 3 corridors where we'll be implementing this program are Sullivan Avenue on the Hilltop, Livingston Avenue in Driving Park, and along North High Street through the Short North. Over the coming weeks, we'll bring this strike force of city resources to each of these neighborhoods to enhance safety, cleanliness, and quality of life along these vibrant commercial corridors. But these communities aren't the only places where we're investing in infrastructure and safety improvements. Soon, our streetlights will be as bright as the city's future when the division of power begins transforming the city's aging streetlight system into a modern, cutting-edge network. I love a passionate advocate for lighting. This is about far more than changing light bulbs. This is an ambitious undertaking to convert 100% of our existing streetlights, approximately 59,000 in total, to LED technology and connect them to a secure, smart network with remote capabilities. This will not only dramatically enhance light quality and visibility for all, but it will also reduce outages, deliver up to 60% energy savings, and lower maintenance costs for the division of power by 25%. An innovative partnership will allow this project to roll out in just a few years. The staff knows I want it done before the end of my current term, so we're going to keep the pressure up. This would have taken decades in the past. Together, we're creating safer, more resilient neighborhoods all throughout Columbus. But we also must remain focused on continuous improvement. I want Columbus to be the safest big city in America. I will not rest or waver until we are. Other technology improvements, like the implementation of systems that translate text to 911 in multiple languages and provide the ability to send live videos to 911 operators, will make emergency response more accessible and efficient. In Columbus, our first responders are here for you. No matter what neighborhood you're in, no matter what language you speak, no matter where you're from. These advancements ensure that all of our residents can access vital services and life-saving assistance. This makes every single one of us safer. Unfortunately, neighbors, domestic violence is one area where we're seeing numbers move in the wrong direction. Especially since the pandemic, there's been a stark and sudden rise in domestic violence all over the world. In the first quarter of this year, there were 12 homicides in our city. 5 of them were connected to domestic violence. Make no mistake, this is a community issue. It will take all of us working together to address domestic violence in a meaningful way. It cannot be solved by law enforcement alone. Police have a job to do, without a doubt. But by the time they respond to a call for domestic violence, it means that we have failed in ours, which is doing everything within our power to prevent these tragedies from happening in the first place. We are actively coordinating and engaging with shelters, counselors, advocates, and every single member of this community to support survivors and prevent future tragedies from taking place. The Office of Violence Prevention is taking the lead on deploying new partnerships and resources with dedicated staff and programming to get the entire community involved. It is only through shared responsibility that we can create the lasting change we seek.
Now, that's Columbus Mayor Andrew Ginther in his annual State of the City address just a few days ago when he touched on housing, the security of the city, and reliable transportation. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll see you again next week for another edition of Columbus Concerns.
Thanks for listening to Columbus Concerns, a public affairs presentation of North American Broadcasting. You can send questions or comments about today's show to Columbus Concerns in care of this station, 1458 Dublin Road, Columbus 43215. Or email us at columbusconcerns@napcomedia.com.
I'm Tiffany Haddish.
And I'm Marlon Wayans. African Americans are 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with pancreatic cancer than any other racial or ethnic group.
When you or someone you love is facing a pancreatic cancer diagnosis, access to cutting-edge treatment can help make long-term survival possible and improve future patient outcomes.
That's why Stand Up to Cancer and the Lust Garden Foundation have teamed up to bring over 30 pancreatic cancer clinical trials to those who need them.
Learning all you can about pancreatic cancer, including treatment options and what clinical trials are available, can give you or a loved one even more than hope. It can help make long-term survival possible.
For more information about the latest pancreatic cancer research and clinical trials near you, visit pancreaticcancercollective.org.
Food. Our survival relies on it. Yet every day in central Ohio, nearly 1 million pounds of it enters the landfill. That's a lot of food, natural resources, and money being wasted. The meals on our plates require a lot of energy, water, and land to grow, harvest, and prepare. And we rely on a healthy planet to provide that. When we choose to throw food away, we're choosing to discard all the resources that were invested along the way, not to mention the money that's being tossed out. But together, we can make choices that make a difference in our community and protect our environment. In fact, there are a lot of small changes that we can each make to reduce our waste, like saving our leftovers, properly storing our food, and composting. Learn more about what you can do to reduce your food waste at home, at work, at school, and in your community at SaveMoreThanFood.org, a program of SWACO.
Hey, it's me, your cell phone. We need to talk about something serious. I know you love me, I know you like using me wherever you are, but I feel like this isn't working out when you're driving. I know you may think that it's possible to focus both on me and the road, but I just don't feel the same way. I think we should spend time away from each other when you're driving. It's for the best.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.